So with that, I'll start off with just a quick introduction, self-introduction, and then we'll go around the screen here. So for those of you who I haven't had a chance to meet, my name is Sharon Wong, and I'm the founder of Hudson Way Immersion School. So I've seen the school over the past 16 years in terms of the growth and evolution. And now in my role, I oversee marketing and admissions, working with Nicole in the New York location, and it's supporting our head of school, Nellie Miguel, who oversees both campuses. With that, I'll pass it on to Nicole, and we'll go around with our introductions.
Thank you, Sharon. Good evening, everyone. My name is Nicole Leo. I'm the admissions person at Hudson Way. I'm also a proud mom with my daughter in the Spanish program at a first grade. This is our 5th year at Hudson Way, and I'm the go-to person if you have any follow-up questions regarding the admissions, the programs. I'll also oversee the after-school programs and enrichment and summer camp programs. Feel free to reach out to me if you have any follow-up questions, and I will let our panelists introduce themselves. Start with our teachers. Sue, do you want? Okay.
Yeah, my name is Sue Rankin. This is my first year at Hudson Way, and I'm loving it. I'm the English, we're called ELA teachers, the English language teachers. And currently I'm teaching 3rd graders. I teach them language arts, writing, and reading, and I also teach 2nd graders writing. And the 3rd graders, so I have a group of 14, and 8 of them are Mandarin target students, and the other 6 are Spanish. And so when I'm teaching them in English, they come together in the same classroom, which is really nice because it keeps the kids socially engaged with all the students in their grade level. So that's a really nice thing to see. So they're combined when they work with me. Oh, and math too. Did I say math? I do math with 3rd grade as well. And I grew up right here in New Jersey. I live in Bernardsville, about 15 minutes away from Sterling. So it's a nice commute in the morning. And I've been teaching since 1982.
Thank you, Susan. Well, my name is Sarah Fernandez. I'm the Spanish teacher for 3rd and 4th grade in the New Jersey school this year. This is my first year here, and I'm very excited about that. This year, I have 10 students, and one of them is new to the school. So tonight, I'm going to explain you what the strategies I'm following with this kid. I'm from Spain, from South Spain.
Thank you, Sarah. My name is Shan Shan, and I'm the Mandarin teacher of 4th and 5th grade in New York campus. This is my 5th year with WIS. This year I have 8 students in my class. 4 of them are 4th graders and 4 are 5th graders. And I have taught many students come to my class that has 0 language background. For example, the student here, Sage, and this year I also have a student who comes to my class with very limited Mandarin. So I'm going to talk about how as a team we are going to help students who has 0 or very little language background. Thank you.
Great. Michael or Colleen, I don't know if you want to do a little quick intro. Thank you.
Sure. Yeah. So my name is Michael Morgan. I'm the father of Sage Morgan. Colleen is my wife. Sage's mom. Sage started Hudson Way in 2nd grade, and so it's been 4 years. So she came in at a later time than typical for a Hudson Way student. Many of her peers, when she started, really were there when they were like 2 or 3 years old. So she was coming in at a point where honestly we really weren't sure how it would go. Coming in, is she coming in too late? Was she coming in at just the right time? But turns out she came in at just the right time, so it worked out. So we've been very, very happy with the school and the level of support she gets from the teachers.
Great, great. Thank you so much. And we'll have some time, for further discussion and some question and answer. I'd like to go to a short presentation, and then we will have a discussion where our teachers will be sharing some of the strategies that they've used. But our short presentation will give you a little bit of background on the school before we do that. Okay. So I'm going to go to the, sorry here. Okay. So the mission of our school is to provide our students with the knowledge, skills, and character to become meaningful global contributors and citizens of the world. So this is a mission and a goal that is encompassing not just the language, but of course, language, but also skills, because it is a full-blown school. It's not a language school, but a school as we're teaching content using the languages. And that's important as you consider in elementary, because you're coming in and comparing this to other monolingual schools and wanting to ensure that you're able to have your child get all of those skills while getting the biliteracy and the global aspect. So those of you who are thinking of immersion certainly understand or may have read a lot of the research, but just to review some of the benefits of immersion, it is so compelling, we believe, because it's changing the structure of a child's brain, resulting in better problem-solving skills, developing creative, flexible minds. It is the most effective way to getting second language fluency. It's developing empathy and perspective and improving social emotional skills. And of course, providing opportunities down the road for our children. So even though most of our students come up through preschool, there are those parents that realize that immersion is something useful, and want their child to get on that bandwagon, if possible, in the elementary years. So a little bit about us. We start at age 2. We go up through grade 8. It's been recently that we have been adding this middle school component. We have 2 tracks, the Mandarin English track or the Spanish English track. And our enrollment has been growing, although we are 2 small schools, about 120 students in New York, 150 in New Jersey. And we have overall school-wide a teacher ratio, student-teacher ratio that's relatively low, 6-to-1, and our average elementary class size is 14 students. So a little bit about our model. As I mentioned, we start in preschool, and we spend most of the time in the target language, 100% if child is coming in at the age of 2, or 90% if they're coming in at age 3 or 4. And this is because most of our students come from English-speaking households, and we really want to ensure that they develop the target language. In kindergarten and first grade, it's 80-20, 80% in either Mandarin or Spanish. And then in first, and that's kindergarten and first. Second and third, it's a 70-30, And then by fourth and fifth, it's a 50-50. So you see, as we go up in grades, we increase the amount of English, amount of time that's taught in English, so that the children are ensuring that they've solidified the target language and then getting vocabulary across both, and also preparing themselves for transitioning past middle school or into middle school. Middle school becomes a 40-60, meaning that 40% of the time the subjects are taught in the target language, and then 60% in English. So this is what's called a full immersion program, and it's rather unique in the New York area. There are schools that are 50-50, and what we find is that the students do not get to the high proficiency level of our students in reading, well, in biliteracy, and that's particularly important because most of our students are English speaking at home, and of course the whole society around us. A little bit about our curriculum, although that's not the main focus of tonight's discussion, but just so you understand our program. We have curriculum that is best of breed. So language arts, we follow Teachers College Readers and Writers Workshop, helping our students become better readers and writers. We use Senderos for Spanish and Better Immersion for Chinese. For math, we use Singapore Math, and that's taught regardless of the language. We use that curriculum. Science, we're using FOSS, Next Generation. Social Studies is a curriculum that we develop, and it is a concept-based units. For example, we're now doing units around exploration and technology. So that is a study that our teachers develop together, and we use the advantage of the fact that our teachers come from different parts of the world and can bring that understanding of exploration happening in different parts of the world together. We have music, art, PE, and makerspace being taught by specialist teachers. A little bit about our schedule. As I mentioned, in elementary, in kindergarten and first grade, we're in 80-20. And what that means is if we take a look at our weeks and we divide our month into 4 weeks, A, B, C, and D, 2 of the weeks we will be teaching most all of these subjects, which are in beige here, or yellow beige, in the target language, that is in Mandarin or in Spanish. And then when we get into weeks B and D, depending on the grade, one of those subjects may be taught in English. So in kindergarten and first grade, only English is taught in English, and that's how you can get to an 80-20. And then we introduce math taught in English in grades 2 and 3, and then we introduce science and social studies also taught in English in grades 4 and 5. And so that's how we're getting to those ratios. But what this means is that students really are getting vocabulary, and they're getting knowledge of how to use the language across these different academic areas. That makes them stronger students. Getting science vocabulary, social studies vocabulary in Mandarin and in Spanish. A little bit about admissions, and this is the last slide that we'll talk about before we talk about how we actually do the introduce students coming in elementary. So Nicole, would you like to talk about this?
Yeah, so we have different ways for the parents to get to know our program. We have, virtual info sessions. We have now we added the in-person tour, and we're also doing the virtual tours for the families. And for the application, you can, once the family submit the application, we will have a thorough assessment and admissions process for our students, especially for the elementary students. Normally, we will invite them for in-person school visit, kindergarten applicants for half day, and first grade and up students for full day staying with the cohort they are applying to, and all the teachers and administrators will go through a very detailed assessment with the students in all the subjects and languages, and we especially for younger entry students, like if they're entering in K or first grade, it's not necessary for them to have the target language. A lot of our students entering into our program with zero background in the target language, and we have a lot of successful stories. However, for the upper grades, because it's harder and harder for the students, and the proficiency of students are getting very high because they're learning math, social study, and science, and language, of course, language art in the target language. So we want to make sure whoever joined at the program, either in elementary or middle school, will be success. So we're getting more and more careful, accepting those students, because we want each students who join our program be successful, in the future. But we're still providing a very individualized attention to the students. So we have a lot of students who, like Sage, actually join us at second grade, and we even have a student join at fifth grade, and he's one of our graduating students this year, and you can still find a video regarding about these students on our website. So yeah, we still highly recommend the parents to get to know our program, and we get to know your child, and we can reach a mutual understanding of how we support your child in this special program. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Nicole. All right. So we're going to continue now with the discussion from our teachers, and we'll begin with Sarah.
Hi. Well, I have to say that coming to a bilingual environment may seem like a challenge to us, but for young kids, this comes more naturally when they get in a fully immersive environment. What I'm going to talk today are about the most important strategies for a successful immersion in the elementary learning. To me, there are like 3 basic components to a successful student. And first and foremost, I think communication is the key. This is a very long process, and we need to be at the same point all around. This includes teachers, other students, school staff, and especially parents. Parents need to be supportive of this process, because many kids can feel a little bit overwhelmed at first, but encouraging them at home will play a key role in the motivation. Also, I think it's very important to have fluent communication teacher-parents to know what they are studying and to ensure the students are completing the learning plan. Good communication, I think, also means to that all times the student can ask for help and they will be attended. I personally, in my class, I reinforce the idea of asking questions during the class, and all the questions are valid to have them more confident. Another thing that I think is important is like to have a welcoming classroom. New students need to have a sense of belonging in their new environment. Having the right classroom promotes better results. We work in creating like a family community group where everyone help each other. So it's easier for the new student builds confidence when they feel like they are in the safe environment. For example, in my class, all students celebrate individual accomplishment for any other student. Even sometimes I can hear my student whispering the answer to the new student to boost her confidence. And it's like, okay, I'm deaf. So also, I think it's very important to find the right body partner for the new student, because finding the right combination will make things much easier. For example, if I need a student, if I have a student who is very embarrassed to speak out loud. So I need to find a partner that is very extrovert and talkative. This way, the new student will eventually start to talk in public. Also, particularly in the beginning of the school year, each student has different class partners to help them to know each other. Then we rotate and we make sure that a student talks to other member. I think we have to focus in the resources that we have to, because this is very important for the student to find the answers. As you can imagine, Google Translator is very useful tool, but I prefer the dictionary because it's a better process to understand the word and everything. It's like a fundamental tool to the student, and they have to use every day, making sure they are comfortable using them, helping find the answer by themselves. I think they can be more independent and they can have like more confidence in this journey. This also apply in the motivation, because it's very important to make them understand that it's a long process, but they are more than capable to make it.
Thank you, Sarah. Wonderful. Shan Shan?
Okay, thank you, Sarah. I really like a point to make, and these are all the practices I've been doing in my classrooms also. And I want to have add on about the resources, which I like the dictionaries a lot. And plus that our school use a lot of technologies to help the new students to learn the new language, because we are one-on-one. School means each student has their own individual device. In our class, they have their own Chromebook. So I've personally found immersive reader is really helpful. So immersive reader is they can it's a website or software. They can read all the text to you. For example, because Mandarin is a very special and hard language. If you don't know all the characters, it's really hard for you to pronounce everything. So I believe use all the technology. If you don't know the characters yet, you have something to read for you, and you are more familiar with the sound is really helpful. And I want to add some practices in a Mandarin classroom, how we help the new students. First of all is with the school support and family support, we offer some tutoring, supplementary tutoring plan. It's all based on individual students' need. For example, I did after school tutoring with some students before, like twice or 3 times a week after school for half an hour. So for during this time, because some students, they don't understand the language yet, they may miss some content during the day. So it's the time we make up the content area or make up the language foundation. And also, I see this time as a really good bonding time between teacher and the student. So, you know, as Sarah says, students tend to feel a little bit insecure coming to a new environment, learning a new language without understand nothing sometimes. So if you have a chance to sit one-on-one with your student and to really get to know each other, to make the students to feel more secure in the new environment, I feel it's really worthwhile. And also we have very flexible tutoring plan. For example, this year in my class, we have a new student. First of all, we do pull-out tutoring. So means during Mandarin language arts time, there is a tutor. I'll pull him out and have individual class with him. And after, I believe, 1 month or two, and we believe he's catching up, he's ready to go back into the classroom, but he's not ready to do the class all by himself. So we changed the plan to push in tutor. So means he go back to the class with all his classmates. The interaction is really, really important. We don't want him to miss that. But the tutor sit beside him to provide all the necessary support to him, which works very well. And also I feel like all the tutoring is really good because the teachers get to know students, individually. So teachers can plan based on the students' personal interest. I had a student who was very into all the aircraft, planes, everything. So I used all the material based on that. So I feel like it's working very well. And another thing is differentiation, which is really important for the new students. Differentiations basically is two parts. First of all, in class and homework. So the in class we use in our school Mandarin class, we use the leveled material like level Chinese. So students are assessed based on their language levels, and they will receive material based on their levels, reading levels, plus a little bit challenge so they can handle. For new student, the leveled material works very well. And also I use some different strategies to teach new student. First of all, when they come to the class, you want them to understand the classroom instruction, the procedures. That's the most important thing. For example, they need to understand stand up or sit down, please sit in the circle. So I will use some total physical response, the strategy to show them how to understand the instructions. And homework, the new student usually gets some modified homework. You want to challenge them, and you don't want to give them like a very, very simple things, even though they are new to the language. So based on their level, I gave them some homework that based on the thing we teach in the class, are modified to the student's level. And because we want to use and sometimes I modify the quantity because you want high quality instead of just repetitive exercise. So that's how what I do, some practice I use in my classrooms. Thank you.
Thank you, Sunset. Oh, Susan, I think you're on mute.
Yes, I just am. You bring up really, really good points. And I, of course, as the English teacher, don't really have to deal with the language differences. But, I've been a teacher long enough to know that teachers always need to be vigilant in supporting the emotional well-being of our students, whether there be, joining an immersion class or in a typical school. And I've learned that a little bit of extra TLC goes a long way in helping any student who is maybe uncertain, unsure, new because they don't know anybody. And again, because the Spanish and Mandarin children are mixed, I get to see nice friendships that are developing across the target language. I tried to do a lot of partner work in when I'm in the classroom. They love it. They love working with other students. They, their faces brighten up, and they just really enjoy that, whether it be books that we're reading in book clubs or even we're doing model drawing in math, bar model drawing in math now. And so as we're starting that skill, I'm letting them work with each other. And sometimes you pair up children you know are on the same level. And sometimes when I want a child who maybe doesn't quite know as much as another child, I'll put them together to kind of lift up the lower skilled child, and also gives the higher skilled child that wonderful feeling of, wow, you know, I know this, I'm helping out. And Sarah, I see the same thing that you do, because I have lunch with the Mandarin 3rd and 4th graders and then on alternating weeks with the Spanish 3rd and 4th graders. And they really are, they are caring and supportive of each other. They argue sometimes like brothers and sisters, you know, as children will do. But basically, they are there for each other and they care about each other. And it's a really wonderful environment to be in. And, you know, Sarah mentioned the support of parents. That is so very important, like I said, for any student. And I think extra especially for a student who has the challenge of not only being new, but learning a new language. Excuse me. And in math, I go in every day for English, but in math, they have math and English one week, and then the following week they have math with their target language teachers. So there is, you know, definitely some communication between Sarah and Ying, the Mandarin teacher, and I. You know, what chapter did you get up to on the workbook? Which page did you do? What else did you do? So that we're not overlapping. Occasionally we do a little bit, but primarily, you know, we want to keep moving along. And so we'll talk about, Sarah and I had a child who she said was struggling in Spanish and in math. And, you know, she came to me and said, how is this child doing in English math? And I said, well, you know, she's struggling. So that helped for Sarah because she was trying to ascertain, was it the language or was it actual the math awareness, the number sense that is, you know, knows no language. Was that the problem? So, you know, those types of things, it's really important for us to work together and align our weekly lesson plans whenever possible and communicate with each other about that. We also give cumulative assessments in both languages, all three, well, the two, whatever your target language is, and in English as well, just because you just want to be sure, is this a language issue or is it an actual skill level issue? And there is one little girl who was new to Spanish this year. I didn't even know that she was new to Spanish. That's how well settled she was. She's a quiet child to begin with, and her mother did a great job of calling me and emailing me and saying, how is she doing? I know she's really quiet, and I was really happy to report that she's settled in. She's got friends in both language classes. So that was really nice. So again, the parent support, as Sarah said, is really important too. Let's see, I talked about the math because I believe in metacognition, which is when children, it's thinking about thinking. So in math, it's really good to have them talking to each other. And this is another good partnership and a way for a newer child or any child to feel part of the group. I don't think see if I skipped anything. I guess that's it. It's a wonderful program. This is all new to me. And I'm just amazed at how, you know, the gears go and they fit in. And I am just blown away to watch these children just talk freely in another language, whether it be Spanish or Mandarin. You know, I think it's a gift that parents give to their children. It's a wonderful gift to be bilingual. And, you know, you might be a little bit behind initially, but in the end, your child is going to have that gift of being bilingual. So it's all good. It's all good.
That's great. That's a great segue, actually, Susan. I'm probably jumping in here, Nicole.
Yeah, no, it's fine. I think, you know, now we can move to our students and parents, for them to share their stories. Sage and Colleen.
Okay, hi, my name is Sage. Well, I think you already know that, but okay, my name is Sage, and I came to Hudson Way in 2nd grade, and right now I'm in 5th grade. And I personally felt that the tutoring sessions that I had after school was very helpful. And in a few months, I think that I did make a lot of progress. So I think that, and after a few months, I didn't need it anymore. And I was more active during class. And I think that I answered more questions. And I also started receiving actual homework that was what other kids were getting, but maybe not as much, but I was still getting more advanced homework. And at the end of 2nd grade, I ended up writing a book for our end of the year project, kind of. And that made me really proud. And actually, before I got to Hudson Way, I didn't really know any Chinese. So I think that I learned a lot, even in the few months that, I learned a lot in a few months.
Yeah, so Sage, when Sage transitioned into the 2nd grade, her only exposure to Mandarin was actually, she had spent 2 summers in the summer camp at Hudson Way, and then she had done some Saturday, kind of like 2 hours on Saturdays, maybe like the semester before she started at Hudson Way, just, because we don't speak any Mandarin at home at all. I'm American born Chinese, but my family speaks Cantonese and Toisan, so no Mandarin. And Sage's grandma is the only one who sort of speaks Mandarin. But according to Sage, after Sage has been at the school for about a year, she said that grandma's accent is not so great, apparently, according to Sage. So it's so we did really rely on, and my husband doesn't speak any Mandarin at all. So we really did rely on the extra help Sage got from her teachers as well as her classmates to get her to where she needed to be. And initially the transition was, I would say probably for the first 2 to 3 months, Sage was probably very silent in class, and I reached out to the teachers, and they were, and Shan Shan Lao Shi was Sage's teacher in the transition, and she was very responsive, and her English teacher also was very responsive in terms of the math, because that was the other transition. So Sage attended another private school before Hudson Way, and because they did not do Singapore math where she was, when she entered, there were certain holes in her education because of the fact that Hudson Way is probably a year ahead of the New York City public school in terms of the math. And so she was not exactly pulled out of class because the other children were also doing the work. She was still in the class, but she did need some extra, 10 to 15 minutes of explanation sometimes. And Sage was actually very vocal about it. That's the feedback I got, was that she was actually very vocal about what she had never been exposed to. So it was addressed at the moment. And so I think that really helped in her confidence in the transition. And she also had she had all of her classmates, but she had one particular student who really helped her with her transition as well. And I would say probably by a year in, she was almost completely caught up in terms of the Mandarin. At probably a year and a half in, I think she was caught up for sure. But I think that we came in at a very good time. She was a 2nd grader. I do have to also say that she's on the younger side. So Hudson Way was one of the schools. She has a December birthday, and so Sage actually started kindergarten when she was 4. So she is actually a lot younger than her other classmates. But they were able to work with us and accommodate her because they assessed her and they thought that she was ready. And I do have to say there is differentiation as well, because in terms of the English portion, Sage has tested above grade level. And so even in that transition, she was able to get work that was appropriate to her level in terms of the ELA reading and homework as well.
Thank you. I think Shan Shan 老师 also prepared something, some Sage's work to share with us.
Okay, yeah, I'm so excited to show Sage's work with you. So I really wanted to show you her 2nd grade work, but unfortunately, I think because it's on the website and they archived the library, and I was trying to retrieve it. It's still there, but it takes some time. I contact them, but I didn't got reply yet. So I can show you Sage's work this year and the year before. So can you see this? Sorry, technology. Sorry, give me 1 second. Okay, got it. Got it. Okay, so this is Sage's book she wrote in 4th grade, I believe. And it's a realistic fiction. You can see by 4th grade, she is not only catching up, she's at very top of the class, and because she's working very hard. And I'm so proud of Sage. And yeah, this is, and also when Sage was in 2nd grade, we shot a movie together. Sage still remember, yeah. And we were so proud. We got the grand prize of NYU Rock That Movie competition. It was a really memorable experience.
Yes, that was very exciting, actually. I think it was very exciting for Sage because of the transition, for sure.
Oh yeah, right. And Sage worked really hard. And
I do have to say, yeah, it's really, I really do have to say that the support, though, that you provided to Sage when she transitioned was really, really essential in terms of where she was transitioning out of, in terms of coming from another school, because Sage is also a student that puts a lot of pressure on herself. So she was, I think that she was stressing out a lot in terms of her ability to transition. And so to have the support and also to say, this is okay, we're not expecting you to, hand in the same work as somebody else in your class because you just transitioned in, that was really helpful.
Thank you.
I've seen Sage since she joined through the years, and I'm so impressed. It not only, the language, and that's a great example, Shan Shan, that book, it's amazing what she's done, but just from a personal growth standpoint, Sage developing the confidence. And I remember at a Chinese New Year performance, Sage up in front, having a lead MC role. And that's something that I think you might not have imagined in 2nd grade when you first started. So I really compliment Sage, her motivation and her persistence to doing it. But she's not unusual in that we have had other kids as well. In New Jersey, Cameron Williams, he's not here, but a student came in 4th grade in Spanish, also did not speak, and by 6th grade was completely fluent and really amazing. So more and more we're seeing students that are achieving what you did, Sage. So really great, and credit to all the teachers who have done so much to support kids on the journey. I think we have at least one question. We can take some questions here in the time remaining, right, Nicole?
Yes, so we already have one question in the chat box. I think it's regarding the cutoff date. Is that a birthday cutoff date or the application cutoff? So for the application cutoff for both campuses, New York and New Jersey, the regular decision application deadline both are on January 14th. So we highly recommend the families to submit the application before that to leave us enough time to go through the admissions process. But we are still under rolling admissions after the deadline. So if you can't make it before the deadline, we still recommend you to submit application. I think we have parent.
Was there a clarification to that question? Okay, I'm not sure.
Yeah, so for the birthday cutoff, the New York is following the September 1st cutoff date. So you try to have to be for kindergarten, she or he has to be 5-year-old before before the birthday cutoff. For New Jersey, with a Sharon, can you tell us what the birthday cutoff?
Same. Mm-hmm.
Oh, September 1st. Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Any other questions? And feel free to speak or chat, whichever.
Mm-hmm.
I have another question. Yeah, I'm looking to enroll my daughter into the New Jersey school. She's already on a Spanish track in Brooklyn at the International School of Brooklyn. And they have Spanish and French. So I'm wondering, because the school has Mandarin and Spanish, at any point does she learn Mandarin if she's on the Spanish track, or it's just Spanish all the way through 8th grade?
Yes, at the moment it's Spanish all the way, because the day is there's so much to cover. We're not incorporating a third language during the school day at this point, but we do have after school language program. So we have a lot of students who, if they're in the Spanish program, take Mandarin after school 2 days a week and vice versa. I will also say that back before COVID, when we were doing these joint celebrations, presentations for Chinese New Year or Spanish event, we would have the Spanish students participate in the Chinese New Year, singing a song or being the MC, and that also exposes them to the culture. So there are ways like that the students get exposure to culture and language.
Yeah, one of the reasons we're doing this is we have to make sure our students reach the high proficiency by literary level at the second language. So that's why they should have enough time to learn math, social study, and science in the target language. My daughter, we speak Mandarin at home, and my daughter in the Spanish program, and I put her in the after-school Mandarin classes to supplement her Mandarin. But I feel like she really needs full attention in Spanish, especially at the early stage in elementary. Yeah, very important.
Okay. I have quite a few questions. I don't know if you guys mind or if you want to do it another time, but
no problem. Go ahead. Yeah, we still have time.
Okay. the students that are older, so my daughter would be in first grade by next year. The students who are in like, I don't know how New Jersey works because in New York State, and I also used to be a teacher, we do state exams for kids in third grade. So is that how New Jersey works?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we do a standardized assessment called ERB. We do that in English starting in grade 3. And then we also do language assessments using the Avant stamp test starting also in grade 3 for Spanish and for Mandarin.
Okay. So the students are prepared to take those tests in English still, even though they're learning the other language.
Oh, yes. And they do very well. They do very well. In fact, they surpass monolingual norms. Students that are in regular monolingual national norms.
Okay.
Sorry, can I jump in? Because it's just tagging on to her question. That test that you just mentioned, what is the name again? Avant?
The language test is Avant, A-V-A-N-T.
Okay, is that the same in New Jersey as well?
Yes.
Or is that just New York? Okay.
No. Yeah.
Okay.
Hi, this is Carlos. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, Carlos.
Yes. Okay.
Hi.
Okay, great. I might I'll be quick, as quick as I can. I think you might address some of this, but I wasn't from the very beginning. What's the ratio of the Mandarin number of kids versus the Spanish kids?
Well, in the New Jersey school, where we have had both languages for a longer time, it is about 60-40, I would say. Yeah, 60% Mandarin students, 40% Spanish students. Yeah. And in the New York school, we've only recently added the Spanish program because we were for many, many years in a smaller space and all we had was the Mandarin. And now we have 2 classes of our Spanish, our preschool and a kindergarten, first grade class. Yeah.
Okay. My daughter is 8. She's in 3rd grade. So theoretically, she would be entering 4th grade. She has limited Spanish. I'm Spanish, but the mother is Japanese, and it's mostly, she goes to Japanese Saturday school, and mom speaks Japanese to her. But our intention would be for her to develop Spanish, which she knows some, mostly from the babysitter, but it's not a language that we speak at home. So that's in terms of intent. The presentation by everyone makes me feel comfortable that that's probably, even though she would be a 4th grader, it seems that there's a lot of support. It sounds like it probably realistic to think that she could make a transition into Spanish as well. But related to that, so when you talk about the tracks, they do English. So do they do certain subjects only in English and certain subjects only in the foreign language? Or should I think of it that they do both, sort of like 2 schools, let's say, and so they learn math, science, and language in both languages? Or there's emphasis on certain.
Yeah.
Yes, they do. So they do. It's not the right wording, but and I'm not opposed to it. But they do double work. They would do math in Spanish in my case, and math in English. Social science in Spanish and English. Science in Spanish and English. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct in grades 4 and 5. In the earlier grades, because we have more time in the target language, which is Spanish in this case, we would be putting in the early grades, kindergarten, first grade, for example, would be a higher percentage of the time in Spanish. So they would get all of their subjects in Spanish and just language arts in English. But as they go up in grades, they're getting more time in English. I think that was the first part of your question. And there was a second part, which I'm forgetting now.
No, I think that was the whole, I don't know, I know I said it a lot, but that was the intent of my question. So thank you, you answered it. In New York City, you say you started Spanish, recently.
Yeah.
So for us, is New York City an option, or she would have to go to New Jersey?
Yeah, she would have to go to
fourth
New
grade.
Jersey because yes, we don't have the fourth grade currently in the New York school. The oldest class we would have next year would be a second grade class.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how many kids, and I'm sorry, you probably covered this, how many kids per, is there one class per grade in New Jersey?
Well, it depends on the enrollment, and for some classes, we do have enough kids for a standalone grade. Others, we might put two grades together in one class, which is the case right now for Spanish third and fourth. But that may not be the way next year because we are getting more and more elementary kids, so it could be that it is different. It year to year changes.
Okay. And more or less, how many kids per class?
So average in a class, it's about 14, I would say, somewhere between 12 and 14. Yeah, around there.
What, just maybe my last question, but minutia. So
Okay.
because they're doing, both languages, what's the schedule like? I mean, are they from 8 to 3, or how does, what's the regular schedule plus supplemental for those kids that need it?
Well, the regular schedule is 8:30 to 3:30. If you want to talk about the schedule of the day, then I think I would.
No, that's fine.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. Any other?
Hi. Okay, hi. Okay, I'm specifically interested in the Mandarin, and I'd like to understand more about when Ms. Zhang, when she talked about the level stuff that they give to different students. So if the student is more fluent, then they get higher level. If the student is new, they get lower level. So, but as a school as a whole, once the student gets to 5th grade and they graduate, like what is the goal of the school? Like how does that compare? How does that compare to, like, what does it mean by high level, low level? Like, can you compare that to maybe China, like a curriculum in China?
So I guess I can answer this question.
Yeah.
So the platform we're using called Level Chinese, and it's aligned to the ACTFL standards. ACTFL is the American Foreign Language Council. So it makes all the standards for the language fluency. Just as novice, novice mid, novice high. And I forgot, I cannot tell you the exact expectation for 5th grade, but if I'm not wrong, by the end of 5th grade, their reading level expecting to reach medium, intermediate, mid. I would say that in the intermediate mid, around that level. Yeah, that's our goal. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so how many characters are we talking about? Because Chinese is, everything is like a character, it's not a phonetic language like English. So they really need to learn character in order to read. So how many characters are they taught by 5th grade?
Okay, so that's a good question. So in our school, except for aside from the Level Chinese, we also use a curriculum called Better Immersion. So it's tailored for other immersion school Mandarin immersion program in US, and it has all the the character list based on the curriculum. And please know that the characters they learn are far more than the character list of the textbook, because they learn characters through math, through social study, through science. But just talking about Better Immersion curriculum, in each grade they are learning, I would say around, it's different based on different grade, around 100 to 130, 150. So you can, add up to 5th grade. It's around, I don't know, 700 something. It's just one textbook. So there are the overall is more than that. And it's more important to learn the vocabulary and how to use the character and the vocabulary in the context. So it's a whole, not just the characters. I hope I answered your question.
Yes, thank you.
I will tell you though that Sage is now able to have conversations in Mandarin with strangers.
No, I that's great. That's good to know. Thank you.
Yeah, the ACTFL proficiency, it's a good question, focused on characters, but actually the ACTFL proficiency really focuses more on what you can do, and not so much on the character count. Can you have conversations? Can you read, specific text? And with the Level Chinese program, we're able to assess the actual level of the students reading and see that they are making progress on a continuum. Well, these were great questions tonight, and I welcome you all to really continue to touch base with Nicole and myself if you have further questions, and to really consider immersion, even though maybe you didn't start out thinking that would be what you would want for your child, because after a few years, it's amazing what they have accomplished, Sage and others like her. And we think it's really important for children at this elementary age, before the critical language learning window closes around age 14, 15, to really develop a skill that can really change their future trajectory in terms of goals and really set them apart. So I want to thank you all for joining us. And
Sharon, I think Sage wants to say something, right?
Oh.
Sage?
I just wanted to say somebody in the chat box put a question.
Oh, okay.
Asked multiple questions, so I think it's important that you answer that before we go and wrap up.
Thank you for letting me know, Sage. Let's see if we missed anything. Yes. How diverse is the New Jersey school? Are Black students enrolled? How does the school have an anti-racism policy or any kind of policy that ensures a safe learning environment for Black students? Well, so we are very diverse in both schools, actually. And I would say, if you want to think about just Black students or African American students, we have 15%, which overall, which is high and double of what many schools have. And we have a lot of diversity because we have families of that have all different kinds of races. 70% students of color, which is Latin American, Asian, African American. And then your other question, does the school have any anti-racism policy or any kind of policy that ensures a safe learning environment? So yes, the answer to that is yes, we definitely have that. And we do professional training with our teachers. And then we also have values discussions with our students. So we make sure that if we have any issues that come up, we talk about them as a school. Any other questions here in the chat box? Thank you, Sage, for bringing that to our attention. Appreciate that.
Are you guys on site or remote at this point?
Oh, we're all on site. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Okay. Well, great. Thank you so much for staying with us to the end. And I hope everybody has a wonderful evening.